How's it going, Scrub Gamers? We're back with another video here at Scrub Games, and once again we are here with the next installment of my Understanding How to Build series, where we go over the leaders, well, all the leaders in a given set to help you understand how to build them to suit you and your playstyle. Now for this one we're going over the Padme Amidala leader, so if you're interested, then stay tuned, and also don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to keep updated with my channel. And also remember that you can click the notification bell to get alerts to when my videos do drop, so that when you watch them there and then, and or at a later time, that benefits you best. Now with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and jump in and help you understand how to build Padme Amidala. So, first things first, we're going to start off with the leader. As Star Wars Unlimited is a leader-based game, meaning you can't really play without one, and they are what you're going to build your deck around. It's always best to understand what the leader does and how it functions before you start building your deck. So for this leader, being Padme Amidala, we're going to basically just go over and kind of see what benefits she has. So this is Padme Amidala serving the Republic. She comes in with the command and heroic traits, being the green and white ones. And also, she comes down with the new Naboo trait, plus also the Republic and official traits. She got those ones going for him. And the only real benefit of that is the Republic trait, where you get the benefit, the main benefit anyway. And she deploys quite quickly at 5 resources, which is pretty cool. So as early as turn 4 or a bit more if you're ramping. And also, she comes down to pretty solid stats, being 2 power and 7 health. So a good amount of stuff like Krennic level stats, and also has that Restore 1 as well when she's deployed. Now, her effect is similar in both arenas, and both require the same thing of being coordinated, so you need 3 units on the board, where at least while she's deployed, she counts as one of those 3. And her effect is to essentially search the top cards of your deck, or top 3 cards of your deck, to find Republic cards and keep you with a constant flow of those. And because it just finds Republic cards, you can find Republic units, upgrades, or events to benefit you. Now, the problem with this leader is that for her effect in the leader, she needs not just coordinate, so she needs 3 units on board, which is pretty difficult and pretty hard to do for the first few turns of the game until you're got a certain amount of resources. And it also requires 1 resource as well. It seems a bit overkill to have 1 resource on this skill, considering you need to spend quite a few resources just to get 3 units on board and hope they survive so you can trigger it. Because her effect when she's in the lead area is to pay 1 and tap her to search the top 3 cards of your deck for a Republic card, reveal it and draw it. Now this effect is pretty good, but due to the cost and the requirement of 3 units on board, it's unlikely you're going to get this going off for quite a few turns until, well, realistically when you deploy her, ideally. And then when you do deploy her, it affects the same, so instead of having to tap her, you don't have to attack, but you still have to have 3 units on board, but at least she counts as 1, and then search the top 3 cards of your deck for a Republic card, and reveal it and draw it. Now you do have Restore 1, so you can kind of heal from your base, which is something that not many leaders do have on them, but leader side is where she's not going to be doing much. And once she has been defeated, if you do deploy and she's defeated, you're then going to have a harder time because she's spending an extra resource to do the same thing and still have 3 units on board. But her effect is not too bad once you get to deploy her. But until then, it's not great. It's making her one of the worst leaders really in the set. But if you're determined to try her out, then I'd say go ahead and try it. Now, also remember that she does have a showcase like all other leaders in the set. So this is her showcase, and a showcase is actually pretty cool. But do remember that art is subjective, so you can like it or hate it. But remember, the only opinion that really matters about showcase really is yours, because you're the one who's going to be owning it and using it. Now for this pack, this is one of my favorite artists for the card game so far that's done this showcase, and I really like it. Yeah, the art is pretty nice. It's just a shame that the leader isn't so great in my view. But also, she is when she's deployed, she's pretty cool. But then the art of this is pretty sick, really, really nice in my view. So now with that out of the way, with the leader, now we're going to go into some basics of the game for any brand new players who may have want to play Padme and can get as much help as possible to build them a deck that they're more comfortable with. But if you're a veteran and you feel you don't need this, then feel free to use the timestamps in the description below of the video, and then skip to any parts you're after, as they're noted for ease of reference down there. So with that out of the way, let's get into the basics of the game. So here we're going to go over bases. So along with your leader, you need to have a base. This is a never mandatory piece you need along with your leader, as it's part of how you win or lose the game. Also, it provides you that third aspect for when you play as well. Now, there are only 2 types of bases as a set free. There are rare bases, which have a lower health total, but they compensate for that by having an effect, be it an epic action, a continuous effect, or one that triggers at a specific point. Then next, like on the right you got here, is you have the common bases, which are all 30 health bases and will have no effect. Now the common bases are all the same in terms of health and, well, yeah, in terms of saves of health, so there's no difference there, but the only difference is their aspect, their name, location, and art. So as a set free, there's nothing that really benefits you from having a base of a specific kind of name or location. So for your essentially for your vanilla basis, you just go with whatever your preferred art is in that aspect. Now we're going to have a look at the two bases in a bit more detail. So start with the rare bases, and here they are. The rare bases are here, and there are 8 currently as a set 3. We didn't get any in set 2, but we got some in set 1 and 3. And the top row here are the ones for set 1, being the one that are more built for competitive. Then you got the third set rare bases at the bottom, which are more built for Twin Suns of Mine, and I'll explain why. So, in the top row bases, you've got they're all 25 health, so this is from set 1, all 25 health, and all don't really interact with a leader, because you notice that a lot of them say a non-leader unit when they refer to effects, the only one being the green one, which is more because it gives card ambushes more affecting a unit by bringing it with ambush. And these also have 25 health 8s, and where their effect is an epic action, you need to spend an action to trigger their effect. So pretty easy to do, simple to do, and they have some pretty nice effects as well. We've all seen play, but where we have the green one being the most played base, whereas the yellow one is the least played base out of those. Now with the new set, we've got 4 new bases of these rare ones, and they have slightly different in terms of health and also varying effects. You have the 2 highest health bases out of the rare ones, being the blue and yellow one, which are 26 health, so slightly higher than the rest, but also have their effects are continuous ones, which only affect your leader, because they give each leader you control a stat boost, whereas the blue one gives an extra 1 health, the yellow one gives an extra 1 power, so they're always in effect at all times, and this is why they're built more for Twin Suns, because in Twin Suns you get 2 leaders, so you can get benefits on 2 cards rather than just 1. And the other 2 are the green and red ones. They have slightly less health than the other 2, being Droid Manufactory having the lowest health for a rare base being 24, whilst the 25 on the red one, and they both trigger when you deploy a leader. So it's again 2 leaders in Twin Suns, so they benefit twice in that format, whereas in competitive they benefit once. And Droid Manufactory, when you deploy, gives you 2 Battle Droid tokens, which is great for both of the new mechanics in set 3, being Exploit and Coordinate. Because Exploit is all about defeating your own resources, or not resources, but your own units, so you can play out a card cheaper, buy 2 for each one you exploit, so giving you 2 Battle Droid tokens is 2 cards you can exploit to reduce the cost of a card that you want to play that has Exploit. And then Coordinate benefits from this because by having 2 droid tokens, it gives you more units to trigger Coordinate, because Coordinate requires you to have 3 or more units in play the trigger the effect is attached to, so having 2 Battle Droid tokens mean that you've got 2 units towards those 3 you need. Then we have the last one being Shadow Collector Camp, and this one is another one deploys when your leader deploys. This one draws you a card. Now, card draw isn't the be all and end all in this game. It's not something that's huge or game changing, but it could be useful. But it's not as beneficial as it might be in other games. So there is that. So if you feel like one of these rare bases would be really beneficial to you when playing Padme, then you can go ahead and choose one. But if you feel like none of them really have an effect and really helps you out, then you can always go for one of the common bases, which are vanilla bases. Now, like I said, these are all the same in terms of stats. And since there's nothing that benefits from the name or location, you might as well just basically pick whichever one that looks best to you, which you prefer the out of, and then play them if you want a very health base. And these ones are my more preferred art of bases. They're the ones that I like the look of best, so normally I pick one of these. You can just basically pick the one you prefer. So that is bases covered. Next, we're going to go over the aspects, as there are 6 in total like you see on the screen. There are the 4 color aspects, which are on all your leaders and bases, and these are Vigilance, the blue aspect, Command, the green aspect, Aggression, the red aspect, and in Cunning, which is the yellow aspect. Now, there are also 2 other ones, which represent the light and dark sides of the game, and are also on all leaders but not the bases. These are Villainy, the black aspect, which stands for control and destruction, featuring the antagonists of the Star Wars universe, and in Heroism, which is the white aspect, which stands for peace and justice, featuring the protagonists of the Star Wars series. Now, these 6 aspects all have a specific style of play, with Heroism being more rebellious with their effects, making for a very aggressive side of the game, whereas Villainy, you have more destructive effects, making for a more controlling side of the game. Now, you'll always have one of these 2 aspects on your leader, and also one of the Era 4 aspects, and each of these have a specific style of play, which we'll go over now. So, when it comes to these aspects, we've got Vigilance, which is the blue one, and now this allows you to play defensively with an ability to heal damage, remove units from board, and also protect your base from attacks. Now, this is perfect for anybody who likes patient playstyles and a very grueling, controlling game. So if that sounds like something you like, then you can go ahead and use Vigilance. Next, we have Command, which is, once again, the aspect that Padme is in, so you get the benefit of this from the leader. And this is one that allows you to accelerate your resources, call upon lots of units, or even strengthen the ones you have in play. And this is perfect for any person who wants to overwhelm their opponent with a massive board presence, or even just big, tall units. So if that's interesting to you, go ahead and try Command, which you also already get from Padme. Next, we have the red one, which is Aggression, and like the name suggests, it's a very aggressive kind of aspect, but not more in terms of playstyle, but more in what it wants to do, because it likes to throw out damage willy-nilly at everything, be it base or units. Now, this one allows you to attack with maximum efficiency and dish out loads of damage, and this is a perfect fit for people who prefer fast-paced playstyles and like to be very aggressive and throw out damage and achieve victory at all costs. So if that sounds like something you'll be enjoyed, then go ahead and try Aggression. And that brings to the last one, being Cunning. Now, this is all the jack of all trades kind of aspect, because this one wants to adapt to any situation on the fly with powerful and immediate effects, and also have lots of tools for disrupting your opponent. Now, this is perfect for any player who prefers to respond quickly to any issue and answer anything their opponent might throw at their way. So if that's something you are interested in, then Cunning is a good choice for you. So that is the 6 aspects, and like we said, you have the leader, you have the base, and now with them together they make for the following aspect combinations. So if you have a blue base with Padme, you have access to green-blue. If you have a green base with Padme, you have access to double green. If you have a red base, you have access to green-red. And then lastly, if you have a Cunning, which is the yellow one, you have access to green-yellow. Now, these are the different aspect combinations, and we'll go over those in a little bit in the video, basically see what the benefits are and what you kind of have to offer for each one. But before we can get to that, there's the next part we need to kind of go over, and that's the aspect penalty. So here I've created this handy dandy little guide to better show how the aspect penalty works, because I just want to improve on this series all the time, and this just is a lot better than just basically saying how it works. Now, in this game, you can play any card in your deck, but when it comes to actually physically playing the card during the game, if any aspect on the card you play doesn't match what's the aspects on your base or leader, then you have to pay an extra 2 additional resources per aspect that doesn't match. So with this leader and base combo as an example being Padme with a yellow base, if you want to play a card where all the aspects on that card matches, then you play the card for its printed cost, and there's an example here in the top box. So if you want to play any card with this aspect combo being from your leader base being Padme with yellow, if you want to play any cards that have the aspects shared on the top box, be it an individual or a combination of aspects, you pay their actual cost. Now, if on the card you want to play, you have one aspect that doesn't match, that is on your leader and base, then you have to play an additional 2 resources on top of the printed cost of the card. So that would essentially make a card that would usually cost 3 a 5-cost card because it's out of aspect. Also, do note that any aspect only provides just one of itself. I mean, if you had a blue aspect Vigilance, that would only provide one of that blue aspect. So if you want to play a card that has 2 blue aspects, you would only have one amongst your leader and base. Then you would need to pay essentially additional 2 resources to cover that second blue aspect. And the examples are once again shown, but this time in the second box for this one. So if with this leader base combination of Padme in the yellow base, if you want to play any card that has the aspects in the second box, or single aspects or combo aspects, then you have to pay an extra 2 on top. Now that brings us to the last one, which now if you want to play a card where both aspects on the card don't match what's on your leader and base, then you have to pay a whopping 4 extra resources on top of the card's cost. So if a card costs 3 and then had 2 aspects that didn't match what's in your leader base, you now have to pay 7 for this card. So that's a massive difference. And it's like before, it's shown the difference in the aspects covered in the last box below. Now do note that while the aspect penalty does make a card more costly if you play out of aspect, sometimes a card is worth playing that is worth that extra cost. Now, a great example are the set 1 double aspect events, which are all named after their respective aspect, and these offer you 4 effects that you can use, that you can pick any 2 of them from, and then resolve them in any order. Now, these are ones that have been proven that people will play out of aspect because they've done pretty well in competitive outside of the leader base combo. So do remember that even though the aspect penalty is makes you pay more for a card, sometimes the additional cost of the card is the effect of the card outweighs the additional cost you'd have to pay if it's out of aspect. Now, for the last part of the basic info that is really good for help new players is covering the ratios. Now, we're going to talk about the ratios as, like in all card games, you can play a certain amount of copies of any given card in your deck, and these vary between each card game. For Star Wars, you can include up to 3 copies of any given card. Now, there are benefits to how many copies of a card you should include in your deck, and we're going to go over when you should ideally add 3, 2, or 1 copies of a given card. So we're going to cover first the 3 copies of a card. This is the ratio to help maximize the likelihood the desired card will be in your hand when needed. So examples are being cards you play on the first turn, or cards you want to see multiple copies of over the course of the game. So I've put in here Alliance Dispatcher as a good example, because it's a 1-cost card that has a great effect where you can, by tapping it, you can play a card from your hand and it costs 1 less. I mean, you can help try and get 3 units out on board quicker and cheaper thanks to the help with Padme's effect. So Alliance Dispatcher could be a very handy one. And with 1-cost units, you can play them out 2 in the first turn and maybe another 1 in the next turn to try and get 3 on board. So you can then use that Padme to start searching the top 3 cards of your deck for Republic units. So it could be handy there. Next, we've got the 2 copies of a card, and this is usually the ratio for cards that aren't great to draw or early in the game, but you still want to go over multiple copies over the course of the game. Now, examples being boss cards or high-costing cards like Rivals 4 here as an example, because usually in this game, usually if you want to play a instant defeat event, the lower the cost, the more restrictive it is, where the higher cost, the less restrictive it is. So like in examples, you've got in blue, which is where most of them are, you've got Takedown, which requires can take out any unit as long as its health is 5 or less. So you can take out a unit, but restriction being the 5 health or less. Whereas Rivals 4 is a high-costing event, being a 6, but it can defeat any unit no matter what. So the nice thing about this is there's not many cards that can instantly defeat a leader, but this one just comes out to defeat anything, even a leader, making it very useful. But where such high-costing cards, you don't want to have too many in the early game, or have them clog, or have to hold onto it, waiting for the time to use it. So sometimes you want to have a reduced amount of them, so that way you hopefully don't see them too early, but see them later on when you need them. And that brings us to the last one, being the 1 cost of a card, well, 1 copy of a card. Now this is usually the ratio for cards that are added to a deck specifically in order to counter a certain function or situation. Now the examples being a good example being Restock, which is added to decks to help counter hard control decks. Because as the name suggests, hard control decks are going to literally just focus on controlling the board and focus on controlling it, and that's it. So all they're going to do is control the game, and then since they're not focused on doing damage and just controlling, they're going to try and get that deck out damage to do the job of winning the game. Because in this game, you can't win unless you do damage to your opponent's base to make match their health on the base. So 30 damage to go 30 health base. And if you can't draw any more cards, you take 3 damage for each card you can't draw. So if during your resupply phase you can't draw 1 card, take 3 damage. If you can't draw both cards, you take 6 damage. So hard control decks will rely on that to win the game. And Restock is a way to counter that by putting 4 cards from your discard back in the bottom of your deck in a random order. You can be keeping the cards flowing, and you can, because due to how the game works, you can choose itself as one of those 4 cards. So you can basically keep recycling it, make sure you're never going to take that deck out damage, forcing a hard control deck to go around a different way to push that damage to your base. So hopefully that's helped you understand when you would want 1, 2, or 3 copies of a card, and what the best, what kind of fits for. And now we're going to go on to the information that you're probably all waiting for, which is the benefits of each aspect. So I like to start with the double aspect first, as this is one that gives you a smaller card pool as you sacrifice access to a whole different aspect in order to play these 9 cards without incurring aspect penalty. Now, back in set 1, this was only viable for 1 leader in each aspect and wasn't necessarily the best way to play them. However, now with 3 sets in, we have triple the amount of double aspect cards and also triple the amount of cards in all aspects, meaning that any leader can go this route at a decent capacity. So for double green, you have these 9 cards. You have the top left ones being the first 3 cards from set 1, being Krill, Attack, Bat, and Delta, Command. You have the next 3 next to that being from set 2, Enterprise and Lackeys, Forced Loyalty, and also Endless Legions. And you have the new ones at the bottom being Padme Amidala, Manufactured Soldiers, and Pyrrhic Assault. So these can also get some nice benefits, but once again, I'm not sure really what the best way is to go for Padme because of the fact that she needs a lot of low-cost units to kind of help her coordinate if you want to try and do it before you get to deploy. And some of these cards are quite nice. You got Krell is a target that could be searched for by Padme, being a Republic, and what's on board, any unit you get that of yours is defeated, you draw a card. So you can kind of gain cards. You've got Command as well as a way to kind of ramp, which is a pretty nice one. So kind of benefits there, and also some error effects along with that ramp. Whereas Attack, Pat, and Delta isn't the greatest out of those set 1 ones. Now with the set 2 ones, you do have Enterprise and Lackeys, but it's not really one that's searchable with Padme. But the nice thing about it is that it is essentially a way to keep a unit always playable, because it can be smuggled out, and it's got an effect where when it's defeated, you can put into your resources by defeating one of your friendly resources. So you can switch it for a resource when it's defeated, so you can then smuggle it back out again and keep doing that over and over again. So you always got a unit to play every turn. But the other 2 aren't the greatest. So you can draw cards with Forced Loyalty by using its effect to defeat a unit and draw 2 cards, but it's not great. And you're not really going to be ramping up the 14 resources to use Endless Legions, because that's more of a meme card that is more for those other decks that can kind of hold off, like more controlling leaders that want to hold off and then do that as a meme. Now with the set 3 cards, you've got some cards that could be useful, like you've got Maz Amidala, which is another one like Krill that can be searched from Padme, and there's a one that can kind of keep the units flowing by keep searching them, because the one that you can play early is turn 1, thanks to being 2 cost, good amount of health at 4, and whenever you play another unit, you can exhaust him to basically search the top 4 cards of your deck for another unit, so you can keep having a unit to play with him to keep finding them, to kind of get those 3 units on board so Padme can start finding you some Republic cards. Pretty cool there. You also got Manufactured Soldiers being another way to get some units on your board, by either giving you 2 Clone Troopers or 3 Battle tokens, so to try and help with that coordinate trigger. And then you got Pyrrhic Assault, which isn't the best, but it's something you can use, giving all your friendly units during that turn. And when defeated, deal 2 damage, so you can start basically make all your units little bombs. If your opponent tries trying to take out your units, they become little bombs to your opponent units. So double green doesn't seem to be the biggest benefit of sacrificing a whole different aspect of access to these 9, because there's 3 I would probably use, being Krell, Command, and Asmodea, or even Manufactured Soldiers potentially as well, but nothing to warrant the greatest effect, because essentially Padme's front side is not the best. Now, before we go into the aspects that the base provide, we're going to go over what aspects Padme gets from her own aspects, so being the command ones. We're going to go over the light side and normal side of each of these aspects to kind of see what the benefits are. And if you do go for double green, you do have these 2 rare bases, be it Education Lab and Droid Manufactory. Droid Manufactory could be useful to make sure when you do deploy her, you have that coordinate live, because then it's her, plus the 2 Battle tokens, meaning she does have then the 3 on board, but then you're having the lowest health base, and also, while she does have Restore, she might not be able to heal enough, and unless you're playing blue with it, you might not be able to heal to keep the base live. And you've got Energy Conversion Lab, so you can kind of do some low costing ambush if need be. Now for units, you have some pretty nice ones. You've got Alliance Dispatcher, like we saw, which is the one that can help you play out units a little bit cheaper than they normally are, to kind of get that going, which is pretty cool. You've got Sundari Peacekeeper and Admiral Yularen, pretty nice units. They both have a good amount of health and quite a low cost, 3 cost with 5 health. And then Sundari Peacekeeper is also adding more Restore to heal your base as well, and also Raid, so it's hitting harder when it's attacking, not when it's being hit. And then Admiral Yularen giving all your friendly heroic units an extra 1 health to kind of give them, put more bulk on your heroic units so that it can stay around to keep that coordinate live. And also has that Restore, so it's healing when it swings. You also have some higher costing ones like Alea Secure, which also requires coordinate, and when she attacks and it is live, she prevents all damage from the attack she does. So she attacks in your unit while you've got two other units on board with her. She's taking no damage from that attack. And then you've got Captain Rex, being never a high costing card, that when played, you can create 2 clone troop tokens, so kind of help with that coordinate focus. So that's pretty nice there. You also have Home 1 as well, adding more Restore to keep the healing going. Having Restore 2 on itself, and also giving all your other units Restore 1. Remember, Restore stacks, so if you have your leader out as well, your leader's then going to have Restore 2 thanks to having Restore 1 from Home 1 and Restore from a Home effect. And plus, Home 1 also allows you to play out a unit, a heroic unit from your discard pile, and it costs 3 less. You can play something at reduced cost. So potentially maybe play out Colonel Yularen with it to help sort out that coordinate. So many ways you can get the coordinate live by having big units, like bulky units, or units that play out more units to kind of get these more units on board. Then you have some other cards, some events as well, like Spark of Hope, to help give you some more rump by if a leader is defeated, which opponent might look at what you're playing and go, I need to make sure he doesn't get 3 units on board, and then try to take him out. And Spark of Hope can help you then turn those units that are defeated then into resources to kind of ramp up quicker, so you can start playing either bigger things or more things out to make sure that coordinates live, or play U-Reinforcement to help try and get you that coordinate, where if you get 7 resources, you can then play look at the top 10 cards of your deck and play up to 3 units that have a combined cost of 7 or less from those 10 onto board for free. So a good way to get coordinate live. So some pretty nice things to get coordinates up in their own aspects. Now, if you go for the non-heroic side of command, you still have some pretty nice ones. That you have Colonel Yularen, also adding more healing, but on just playing command units, because whenever you play a command unit, including itself, you heal 1 damage to your base. You've got Cobb Vanth being a very good one as well, because when defeated, you can look at the top 10 cards of your deck, mill a 2 cost or less unit, and then be able to play it for free from your discard pile, so basically keeping a unit on board. And then you've got Huang and 500 First Liberator being nice ones that can give you benefits, both having decent stats, and also the clone unit Liberator allows you to heal 3 damage on your base if you've got a Republic unit on board, and is searchable by Padme. And then you've got Huang, where when played, you can choose another friendly unit and give it an extra 2 to its stats while this card remains aboard. So essentially, coming down as a second unit, keeping the first unit around by having better stats, and then basically making your coordinate a little bit easier to do. It's pretty nice there. Then if you get to like the higher end, you have Reinforcement Walker being a very big unit that's very bulky as well, very good stats. And whenever it plays, is either healing you free by discarding the top card of your deck, or drawing that card and basically giving you more options. You'd also have Traitorous to then start taking your opponent's units to add towards the units you need. And you also have Timely Adventure to resupply, being good events, being able to play something with Ambush at a higher cost, or ramping up with resupply. So that's the stuff that you get with Padme. Now let's have a look at what you get from the benefit of having a base. That's a different aspect in command. So first we're going to look at Vigilance, and this is the one that gives you a nice bit of healing, especially going with the healing you can get in command. You can go for a lot of healing, which means if you're then going for one of these rare bases here on the side, you can kind of mitigate their downside having less health by having healing to kind of keep them healthy. And then you got the benefits of keeping it like these rare bases kind of a good benefit, where a security complex can put a shield on the unit, you kind of make it protected from damage once while it's got a shield. And then Pal City making Padme be a little bit bulkier with extra 1 health when she deploys. Pretty nice there. Now, you got some pretty nice units. There's not many units in the normal side of Vigilance, but there's some good ones in Heroism. And you got things like this, like the cheap ones being Restored Arc, 41st Elite Corps, Captain Typho, and Conquered Dawn Interceptors. Now, with the 2 space units, they've got quite a nice bit of bulk. Restored Arc is also healing, played turn 1, whereas Conquered Dawn is complete played turn 2, but also has Sentinels to direct units that way, and also quite a nice bit of bulk as well. And also being Sentinel. You got the other 2 units being Elite Corps and Captain Typho being nice ones where they got pretty decent stats, whereas Elite Corps, if you got Coordinate Live, he's even bulkier, so you can get 3 of those on board. They're then 3 6s, which is pretty good for free cost. Whereas Captain Typho can turn, when it's played or when it attacks, can give any unit Sentinel. So you can give your opponent's unit your units to kind of draw attacks away from a certain one that might be close to death to another one. Then you've got some pretty nice higher units, like you've got the Mandalorian, be a nice one that can come down, be a Sentinel to protect your other units, but also give a 2 cost or less unit 2 shields. So you can go ahead and protect one, and also be a protector of the other units that don't have shields. And also you've got some cards searchable from Padme, being Knight of the Republic and Luminara Unduli. which are pretty nice units. Whereas the Knight Republic, solid stats, and when he's attacked, you create a clone troop, and so you get more units out of it when they're attacked to go ahead and create get a coordinate around. And then you also got Luminar, which also is pretty good stats, very bulky at 9, and also when played can heal your base for 1 unit damage for each unit you control. So the more units you have, the benefit you have, or better benefits. And you also got an upgrade like for the Republic, being a free cost 2/2 upgrade, which if you have a Republic, if you have free control free Republic units or more, it reduces the cost of it by 2, so you can make it cost a 1 cost 1/1 boost. And it's got an effect that while you have Coordinate live, it gives the unit Restore 2. So you can potentially put this on Padme to turn her into a 4/9 that then has Restore 3 when she swings, which is pretty strong, which is pretty good. As long as as long as you got Coordinate live, which hopefully you can get live. So that's the heroic side. Then we got the non-heroic side, which are pretty nice units. So you have some that don't really see much play, but could be helpful for Padme. You've got the not many cheap ones in the normal side blue. That's not the best in terms of options for just the normal blue units, but in the heroic side it's a lot better. So you've got Wilderness Fire being one that comes down shielded, Ember, which can heal when he defeats a unit or survives an attack and defeats a unit, so heal himself, keep him a bit healthier. And you got Infantry of the 212th, which kind of has Sentinel if you have the Coordinate line. It's pretty nice to protect those other units. Then you have Ki-Adi-Mundi being a very good statted unit that when your opponent plays a second card while they're on board and his Coordinates live, gets you to draw 2 more cards. And you also have some pretty nice upgrades in blue as well. Like you got Resilient here, which can, for a 1 cost, can give a unit extra free health to keep it a lot more healthy with a bit more health. And you got Perilous Position, where you can put this on an opponent's unit, which then arrests that unit when it's put on and give it minus stats. So the first upgrade to give minus stats to a card. And you got some removal events like Takedown and Follow Dragon being some good options. So that's blue. So if you feel like you want a lot of health and like quite a bit of bulk, then blue could be a good way to play Padme. Next, we have Aggression, which can give you some very nice units and pairs very well with green as well on the light side. You have these rare bases, which can either give you some extra damage if you can't with Target Town if you can't finish off a unit or just fall short, or Shadow Collector Camp to give you a bit of control when you deploy Padme. Now you got some pretty nice units, and they vary all over. Like you got some good Republic units in like that you can search for Padme, like the Soldier of that 501st, Jesse, Anakin, or Mace Windu, all nice searchable units because they have the Republic trait, and also have some nice benefits from being high costing cards, low costing cards to help out. You also have some other cards that aren't searchable by Padme, but are not pretty nice, like Cassian being a nice one you can resource to smuggle out later, and being very good statted. You got K2SO and Stella being your 4-cost ones that either give you some like threats on board, or can have like a nice searcher, like Stella can help you search for tactic events, and there are some good ones, especially in blue, or some good ones in red. And also you got K2SO as well, which either does more damage to base or goes for a bit of hand control. Then you've got like nice threats like Wrecker being able to come down, maybe kill some of your resources, but then does damage and threatens very good stats with Overwhelm, giving that piercing. You also have Anakin benefiting from Coordinate, giving you more troll as well when it attacks, and Mace Windu with the ambush, and coming down to help clear and deal with the board. You also have the non-heroic side of Aggression with some nice units. You have like things like Wolf and Tissy Insurgent being nice turn 1, or cheap units, with Wolf being a way to shut off heal from your heal, but you can always control it because over when it attacks or played, so you can choose kind of when to stop the healing. So if you need to heal, you can get some healing in, then play it after. You also have Tissy Insurgent being a very cheap one that has a good amount of bulk and can hit harder given if there's another Aggression unit on board. Then you have some other ones that are searchable for Padme with these Republic traits, being like Bold, Recon, Commando, and Heavy. They're very nice statted units. And even Kit Fist as well, which is also Republic, and is a higher cost, but then has the same stats as, say, like Wrecker. And it's when he attacks where you've got 2 other units on board, so with Coordinate, he does 3 damage to a ground unit, so pretty handy there. You also got some nice events and stuff, like you got a Tactic in Pillage, and also Open Fire being tactics you can find with Stella, that you can then use with Open Fire, deal 4 damage to your units and remove things, and then Pillage doing a bit of hand control, making opponent discarding 2 cards. And you got Arm to the Teeth being a nice thing you put on a unit, but you can even Padme, gives it 2 more attack, and then when that unit attacks, gives another unit an extra 2 power for that phase, and also it's something you can smuggle out if you wanna have something to easily resource. So that's what you got for Aggression. Some good things there. So it could be, if you feel like that could be a good option, go for Aggression. Now we have the last one, which is Cunning. So Cunning's a pretty nice one. It's pretty cool units. You've got a lot of these here. Like, you've got a lot of cheap units here. You've got like Chopper, Leia, R2D2, L3, 37, Grogu, some nice examples. Like, you got the droids there being Chopper, R2D2, and L3, 37, which have a good amount of bulk. Well, in R2 in Chopper's case, good amount of bulk and useful effects. Like, R2 could allow you to discard a card from your hand. Such top 3 to kind of find something different, so you can ditch something that's not great in your hand for a new card and help dig for something that you really want. You got Grogu as well, which has a good bit of health and also can prevent units from attacking by exhausting himself to exhaust one of your opponent's units. And also you got L3 37, which can survive a little longer because when she's played, you can either capture a card, and if you don't, you gain a shield token or shield on the card, so you can kind of bring out a unit that's shielded to keep it around a little bit longer for restore. Coordinate. And then you got Leia, which can help you play out more units, because when she's played, you can either tap a resource down or exhaust a card. So you untap a resource or exhaust a card. So you can play her, untap a resource, and play another card. So you can potentially with her get her and another 1-cost unit out turn 1, which could be very good to get that coordinate live as quick as possible. So benefits there. Then you got more higher costing units like Kira and Coploon, which have some good bulk to them and pretty nice stats. Like Kira can help you look at your opponent's hand and make something of one card of theirs. Costs a little bit more than it should do, but also having a unit can stick around with a bit more bulk. And Plo Koon being a nice one that benefits coordinate and has ambush, you can then use this as a way to take out things, especially on Padme's deploy. And with these as well, you have the Plo Koon being the only one out of them that kind of has the searchable trait of Republic. Don't also note that you also have Spark Rebellion, which you can use as a hand control route if you want to use that. Not the best for turn 1 since you want to kind of get units on board for coordinate, but one that you can use to kind of have some hand control. And then outside of Heroic, you've got some pretty nice ones. Like you've got some nice units that you can search for Padme, like Favorable Delegate and 5s, which are pretty good statty ones, and even ones that go together along with. Now there are 2 of them, so that's pretty cool there. And you have some units that can be quite cheap to play, good bulk. You got Greedo being a cheap one to play out, quite fragile, not the most bulky, but then it's a cheap unit, 1-cost unit you can play out. So you can get two 1-costs out, you're getting closer and closer to that coordinate. And also with Crafty Smuggler, same thing as L337, being a unit that comes out shielded to kind of stay around and be a bit stickier. Favorable Delegate is quite nice because when you play it, you draw a card, and if it's defeated, you have to discard a card, but it's a 1/5, which is very good stats for a 2-cost. And you can mitigate that when defeated effect by using Pirate Starfighter along with it to get a space unit on board for cheap, to add that to coordinate, and then bring it back to your hand so you can play it out again to get an extra draw again. And yeah, disregard the rend defeated because it's not been defeated, it's been bounced back. Now 5 is pretty nice. It's a 5-cost 5/5 that when you play an event, you can put a clone from your discard back to the bottom of your deck and then draw a card. So you can kind of recycle some clones if you want to go for that route. And just nice stat for a 5-cost 5/5. Then you want some nice upgrades and events as well. You got Jetpack being a nice event to add more power, but also add a temporary shield that you can smuggle in as well. And you got Political Pressure, and now there are 2 of them to kind of help have some good event options. Like Political Pressure can help either make your opponent discard a random card from hand, which is not great for them turn 1, or give you 2 clone token or 2 battle draw tokens, so you've got more tokens on board to help coordinate. And now there are 2 of them to get some pretty nice bigger units out quickly by playing something turn 1, and then using this to bring out a bigger unit turn 2 to kind of last a little bit longer for that coordinate. And then lastly, we have the Heroism cards. So these are some of the Heroism cards that I felt would be beneficial for Padme. And while there aren't many Republicans, like if you think about it with the heroic cards, set ones all focus on rebels, which Padme is not. So there's a little use out of them. There's also the set 2 ones, which have less of a focus than the set 1 and 2, or set 1 and 3 ones. But they're mostly like Wookiees and other things that are not great and don't give much benefit. Outside of things like tech. And then you got the 3rd set, which have a fair few Republics because they're all about like the clones and stuff, but there's none that really give the benefit of what Padme is, which is like low costing cards that help with coordinate and be good ones to search. But these are the ones I felt could be useful because you've got R2D2 and C3PO being nice ones that have good amount of bulk for their costs. Like 4 health is pretty nice, and even R2 being a good turn 1 play, they'll help you kind of look at the top card of your deck and kind of help you filter a little bit more. Whereas in C3PO can help merge with R2D2 to help turn that card you know it's on top of your deck into a card you're gonna draw to help you gain a card every turn if you want both together, and then together we'll add towards coordinate. Then you got tech, being able to give your well, make your resources as like second hand, so you can then smuggle some stuff out and just make it a bit more costly at 2 more than their actual cost, plus their same aspects. Then you have Republic Commando. This being a nice one that has a good amount of got a good amount of bulk for a free cost, being a 2/5, which is pretty nice. So you can put that on board. A little bit harder to take out, and also is one that's searchable with Padme. So these ones I felt could be useful to help Padme achieve her goal of coordinate, so you can keep that consistently going. Because I imagine once Padme comes down and starts searching for rubber cards over every turn, you're getting more cards the opponent would have, so more options to do more things. Lastly, that brings us to my preferred aspects. Like I like to do, I like to improve on this series every time I do it. And people were asking before the previous series, being like, what are my preferred aspects for a leader? And I thought for this one, well, for this not just leader, but this series, the third set, I'd put in that so you can kind of get a see into what I would prefer for aspects. So for my preferred aspects for Padme, I prefer to go potentially double green with it, and also yellow with it. Because if I double green, you got some really nice cards because you got like Maz Amidala, which like every time you play a unit, you then get to go ahead and rest him to kind of find a unit from the top 4 to kind of keep the units going. Because the more units you get aboard, the more you've got for coordinated and trigger Padme, and you got some pretty nice ones. And it helps you if you're getting a unit from Amidala, and also you're getting a Republic from Padme. You're getting multiple cards every turn to kind of out resource your opponent. And you've got things like Cobvamp in its aspect that kind of go ahead and, if it's defeated, put a unit back on board, get a nice 2 cost, like a low cost unit, and then keep that board presence for coordinate, and even command to help then go ahead and ramp or boost up a unit on play, and then go ahead or even get back units you've lost, like get back Cobvamp so you can play it out again. So I thought that could be a good benefit from that. And then also with yellow, you got some nice ones like political pressure as a way to kind of make it so your opponent, do you want to have less cards in hand and like you're not choosing, you get it's a random card, or give me 2 battle tokens. So I've got coordinate and a bit more life, so I can then put a 1 cost down with them, and that's 3 units. The next I can just go coordinate, search, bada bang. And you also got units like R2D2 being a nice little searcher to kind of help you find things that you want. Discard a card that might be not great in your hand for a new one, and even like Pings of Plo Koon to make more use of the fact that Padme already needs units for coordinate. So those are some benefits and what my preferred aspects are going to be for this. And then that brings us to the end of the video. So this one felt like a tough one because there's not a leader I thought was any good, but I like to have hope, and it's nice to just cover any leader because some people do like to play specific leaders due to their being their favorite character, or like they want to try something that's different. And I completely understand that, and I want to make sure that when I'm covering a series like this, I'm covering every leader and giving the best available information help as possible. So that is it for today. That is hopefully that's helped you understand how to build Padme Amidala if you're looking to build it, and kind of give her a try and give her a chance to see how she does. And that is it. So thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and check out the next one as we then start going into the aggression leaders in the next one. Bye for now.
Like a boss.